I knew the storm was brewing the moment I spotted Greg pacing behind his office door like a coyote trapped in a wire fence. He wasn't the type to wear out his boots on carpet, usually. He'd kick back with his feet up, barking orders down the chain like he owned the Rockies. But there he was, beads of sweat trickling down his brow as if he'd just been handed a lawsuit instead of a profit report. I'd barely stepped inside when he whirled around, slamming a folder onto the desk like it was laced with venom. "Sit down," he barked.
No hello.
No pat on the back for the $50 million contract I'd just nailed with Apex Industries after months of gritty negotiations, back and forth revisions, and dodging 3 near disasters. No nod to how I'd revived a partnership everyone else had written off as roadkill. Just that folder and a voice dripping with the kind of disdain reserved for thieves. Not his top consultant. He flipped it open with a flourish of contempt. There, staring back at me, was my expense sheet, a loan receipt for $420 at the Ridge Steakhouse. The go-to spot for Liam, Apex's operations head. I'd taken him there to hammer out the final terms over ribeyes and a shared bottle of local Cabernet. The stakes alone justified the tab. It wasn't extravagance. It was strategy. Greg jabbed at the paper with a finger nod raw from stress. $420? You could have sealed it over burgers and sodas at a drive-thru. Hell, half that would have sufficed. I blinked, the words sinking in like sand in my boots. We closed a $50 million deal, I reminded him, my voice steady despite the knot twisting in my gut. But he just shook his head, sliding over a termination notice like it was yesterday's trash.
No bonus.
No severance, just cold HR jargon, and an order to pack up by lunch. As I folded the paper, a wave of disbelief crashed over me. Was this really happening? After pouring my soul into that deal, rebuilding trust brick by brick. This was my reward? The injustice burned. But I swallowed it, letting silence fill the room instead of rage. Greg eyed me, waiting for the explosion. The tears. Maybe a desperate plea. I gave him nothing but a blank stare, my mind already racing ahead to the void this would leave, not just for me, but for everything I'd built. Walking out, I weaved through the open bullpen where heads stayed buried in screens. No one glanced up. Why would they? They'd seen Greg eviscerate the last ops manager over a coffee run. The loyal ones had bolted long ago, leaving behind the scared, the ambitious, or the paycheck chasers. I didn't rush to the elevator. Instead, I detoured through the halls, past the finance cubicles and the wall of client victories, framed photos of handshakes and signed deals. There I was in half of them, Greg and all, grinning like he'd done the heavy lifting when he'd barely skimmed the emails. One shot from the Apex Summit last year, me gesturing passionately mid-pitch, him nodding along as if he grasped the nuances. My desk was sparse, a laptop, a binder of notes I'd compiled from scratch, and a pen from home because the office ones always dried up. As I unplugged, my eye caught the post-it on my monitor, Liam's number, scribbled during a dusty roadside meetup months back. I pocketed it alongside the pink slip, a quiet resolve settling in. This wasn't the end, it was a fracture point, and I could feel the pieces shifting inside me, urging me to rebuild stronger. The Colorado sun blinded me as I stepped onto the Denver street, crisp mountain air cutting through the haze of shock. I stood there, bag in hand, jobless but not adrift. Signs had been there, Greg's nitpicking on costs, his huddles with the CFO behind closed doors. But firing me over a meal that locked in 8 figures? It stung deeper than professional betrayal. It felt personal, like he'd erased my worth with a single stroke. I pulled out my phone, not to dial Liam yet, but to reread his last email. Thanks for seeing this through. Unanswered. It hung there like an unfinished sentence. I let it be, allowing the quiet to build its own momentum. 6 months earlier, Liam had ghosted my calls. Apex had been scorched by Keystone's botched promises, delays, bloated scopes, invoices thicker than a rancher's ledger. They'd blacklisted major vendors. And Liam's out was office gospel.
But I didn't buy it.
Not naivety, but intuition from our last video call, exhaustion in his eyes. Not defeat. Trust isn't taught, it's earned through grit. So I started small, casual texts about supply chain shifts. No sales push. Just a link to a federal grant for Western infrastructure with a note. Thought of your Highway 70 upgrades. Then, one dusty afternoon, he replied, appreciate the intel. Swing by if you're near Boulder. I made the drive through winding canyons, turning coffee into strategy sessions. Those evolved into dinners under starry skies. Real talks about legacy systems and family ranches. He didn't want flashy pitches. He wanted reliability. Someone who could deliver without drama. By month 4, trust bloomed. If we revisited Keystone, it'd be you only, he said over a shared plate of brisket. My heart raced, not shock, but recognition that the door was ajar. And no one at Keystone even knew. That final dinner, the one Greg crucified, was closure. We're committing. But you lead, no swaps. I nodded. Paid, without fanfare. Liam trusted results, not receipts. I drafted every clause myself. No recycled templates, tailoring phases to avoid overloads. When risks flagged, I mapped solutions. Keystone didn't win Apex, I did.
Now,
with me gone, the bridge crumbled. Liam would notice the void, my deactivated accounts, the stalled comms. Keystone assumed a swap in PM would suffice. But Liam remembered betrayals. And I still had his number. A lifeline pulsing in my pocket.
inside.
Turmoil churned. Why hadn't I fought harder? But reacting would have fed Greg's ego. Instead,
Issues poise.
letting silence gnaw at him. At home, overlooking the foothills, I jotted notes, Liam's name atop a pad. Deliverables listed. Gaps Keystone couldn't fill, my shorthand clauses. Our off-the-record fixes. Apex's old rigs? Only I knew the quirks. I texted Liam, no longer at Keystone. Open to chat when ready. His reply, what went down? I set the phone down, heart pounding with uncertainty. Was this revenge or survival? By nightfall, I'd filed an LLC, my name, a simple site.
No frills.
I gutted Keystone's templates, rewriting in plain speak. Clear scopes, fair costs. Packages mirrored Apex's needs. Sans the markups that funded Greg's bonuses. This wasn't destruction, it was evolution. I'd watched execs like Greg squander trust for quarters, ignoring the connectors who built it in late-night calls and shared vulnerabilities. Clients stayed for humanity, not logos. Free now, I could deliver that pure. Keystone could chase ghosts, I'd fill the real gaps. And as silence stretched, my path clarified, heavy with the weight of what I'd lost and what I'd gain. 3 days post-firing, Keystone barreled ahead, submitting the initial rollout docs to Apex as if nothing had shattered. They marked phases green, oblivious to the missing core. Apex went radio silent, not a day, not 2. On the 3rd, Greg got the email, hold on implementation pending strategy review. Stand by. Signed, Liam. I wasn't looped in, but whispers from old contacts painted the chaos, Greg raging through halls. Calls to Liam bouncing to voicemail. My mind swirled with conflicting emotions, satisfaction laced with pity. Had Greg really thought he could erase me without fallout? The arrogance gnawed at me, stirring old doubts about my loyalty to a firm that never reciprocated. My calendar dinged. Invite from Liam. Q2 planning, independent consultant.
No fluff.
Just a slot. Staring at it, a surge of validation hit. But so did guilt. Was I poaching? No, this was salvage. I accepted, heart racing with the gravity of betrayal's echo. Keystone spun wheels. I moved. I prepped a deck, timelines, costs.
Novus boards.
Sent it privately. Liam's reply, solid. The call included Apex's legal and IT leads, folks I'd collaborated with. Their presence screamed commitment. We weren't exploring. We were executing.
Meanwhile,
Keystone's inboxes refreshed futilely. They didn't grasp Liam's style, no bluster. Just decisive shifts. The rot spread quietly. Analysts flagged unanswered queries, sales murmured doubts. A finance ping on billing? Crickets. Because nothing advanced. Outside that freeze, I built refining contracts, securing freelancers from Western networks. No empire building yet, just foundations rooted in trust I'd nurtured alone. Emotions intensified. Anger at Greg's short-sightedness morphed into sorrow for the team left in his wake. Why had I stayed so long? Ignoring the red flags? Self-doubt clawed. But resolve pushed back. This was my chance to prove value beyond a toxic hierarchy. We met at a Boulder brewpub, mountain views framing the scene, but my focus was internal. Liam arrived early.
no plaisanteries.
They axed you over that steak dinner? I nodded. He processed, then slid a draft, 12-month gig. Premium rate. Full autonomy. I scanned, a rush of empowerment flooding me. But beneath, a pang, this severed ties irrevocably. Add a non-interference clause, I said. He grinned faintly. It was already there. Protecting against Keystone's meddling with payouts. We hashed logistics. Apex prepped transitions without notifying Keystone. Let them stew in ignorance. As Liam left, his handshake lingered, a silent affirmation. No triumph swelled. Instead, a profound shift, like shedding a skin that never fit. Keystone's unraveling wasn't glee-inducing. It was a mirror to my own growth. By then, their board probed delays, Greg deflecting with excuses. But perceptions shifted. Clients sensed instability. I didn't orchestrate it, actions did.
Inside.
Conflict raged, vindication versus empathy. Greg's hubris had cost jobs, dreams. Yet, part of me wondered if redemption was possible. A seed of humanity budding amid the drama. An overdue payment flagged first. Keystone's CFO spotted it in reviews. Apex's deposit absent. Assumed glitch. But the portal screamed, paused. She confronted Greg mid his self-promotion spiel. He waved it off. Procurement lag. But her unease mirrored my past frustrations. By midweek, board questions mounted. Projections hinged on that deal.
Greg's pantales.
But his twitch betrayed him. Friday's notice landed. Contract termination due to strategic pivot. Thanks for engagement. Clinical. Final. Greg's face crumpled in slow dread. Calls futile. The board emergency call grilled him. How'd this evaporate? He mumbled about transitions. But LinkedIn exposed me. Verity Consulting. Founder. Specializing in seamless implementations. Pieces clicked. Greg's petty firing lost millions.
No scandal.
Just erosion. Emotions peaked inside me. Not revenge's thrill, but a deep ache for wasted potential. Had Greg valued people over pennies? None of this. My path forward felt heavier with lessons unlearned by others. The press hit. Verity launches, emphasizing continuity. Apex updated portals. My name replacing keystones. Chatter buzzed subtle.
Damning.
Keystone overreached. Losing more ground. My phone rang, Greg. I let it echo. A hollow reminder. Not blocking, just letting consequences speak. This wasn't petty. It was justice tempered with growing compassion. As silence amplified, my inner turmoil deepened, questioning if true healing lay beyond victory. A week later, the ripples turned tidal. Keystone stock dipped 4% on whispers. Algorithms sensed the bleed. Their crown jewel, Apex, vanished. Greg's keynote fodder now ash. Inside me, emotions roiled fiercer, triumph mingled with profound sadness. Why did it take destruction for clarity? I replayed memories, late nights crafting proposals. Greg claiming credit. The betrayal cut deeper now. Not just professional, but a violation of unspoken bonds. Yet, empathy crept in. Greg was a product of cutthroat corporate West, chasing metrics over meaning. Liam's team transferred files seamlessly. My consultancy hummed with purpose. But self-reflection haunted. Had I enabled this by staying silent too long? The drama intensified internally. A storm of regret and resolve. At a Denver networking event, amid craft brews and valley views, Liam pulled me aside. "You deserved better," he said. His words unlocked floods, gratitude, but also grief for lost years. We refined scopes. My autonomy a bomb. Yet the weight of severed ties pressed heavier. Keystone's desperation showed. Cold emails to shared contacts. Underbids reeking of panic.
Client balked.
Renewals stalled. Greg's calls persisted. I ignored. But each ring stirred pity. Was he realizing now? The human cost, colleagues' jobs teetering, not at me. This wasn't just my story. It was a web of lives entangled in one man's ego. Then, an unexpected email, Greg. Subjectless. Attached a plea for a meet. Let's talk continuity. Arrogance veiled as outreach. I forwarded to Liam. Old habits. His reply. Should have valued the steak. Laughter escaped, but tears followed, emotions cresting. The irony burned. A meal symbolized deeper failures. Inside, conflict peaked. Vengeance felt hollow. Humanity beckoned. Perhaps a bridge could mend,
But not yet.
Verity's first client beyond Apex signed, a small Wyoming firm. Drawn by my reputation. Growth felt organic. But inner drama escalated, joy shadowed by Keystone's fall. Reports trickled. Layoffs loomed. Greg isolated. Pity surged. He wasn't evil. Just blind. My heart ached with the lesson emerging, forgiveness as strength. At an industry summit in Salt Lake, tables spoke volumes. I sat prime with Liam and Apex's CEO, who praised execution over ego while nodding my way. Keystone reps, Mara and Evan, lurked periphery, badges mocking their fade. Evan approached. Didn't expect you here. I turned away. Silence, a weapon turned inward, stirring remorse. Liam's subtle toast affirmed, but my soul wrestled. Was this victory or vanity? Post-event, Greg's LinkedIn revamp hit, solo consultant, echoing my model.
Desperation evident.
It evoked deep sorrow. Forwarding to Liam sparked no glee, only reflection. All this from undervaluing trust. Emotions overwhelmed, betrayal's scar throbbing, but healing through humanity's lens. The story wasn't revenge, it was rebirth, laced with lessons in empathy. Months in, Verity thrived, 3 clients, Steady growth in the Western tech scene. But emotions deepened. A vortex of introspection. Nightly, I pondered the wreckage. Keystones tumbled not just numbers, but shattered dreams. Greg's firing echoed my own vulnerabilities, had roles reversed. Would I have chosen differently? Drama internalized. Conflicts raging, pride versus pardon. Apex's rollout succeeded flawlessly, Liam's praise. You were the missing piece. Validation surged. But so did isolation sting. Old Keystone contacts reached out, sharing tales of Greg's unraveling, tirades, blame-shifting. Pity evolved to compassion. He was trapped in his own narrative,
Much like I'd been.
then, a turning point. Greg emailed personally.
No peach.
I messed up. Can we talk? Vulnerability peeked through. My heart pounded, anger flared, but curiosity won. We met at a neutral Albuquerque cafe, desert winds mirroring my turmoil. He looked worn, eyes shadowed. That dinner. It was stupid. I saw costs, not value. Admissions poured, pressure from above, fear of appearing weak. Listening, emotions crashed, forgiveness tempting, but scars fresh. I shared my side, the build-up, the trust earned solo. He nodded.
Regret evident.
No pleas for business, just acknowledgement. As we parted, a weight lifted, not full absolution, but a step. Inside, drama peaked, betrayal's pain yielding to growth's grace. Keystone filed for restructuring, whispers of buyouts. My role? Indirect catalyst. But no malice. Emotions intensified, relief mingled with melancholy. Helping a laid-off colleague join Verity felt redemptive, turning pain to purpose. At a Phoenix conference, Greg appeared, subdued. We exchanged nods, no words needed. The lesson crystallized, revenge corrodes, humanity heals. My empire stood not on ruins, but renewed foundations. A year on, Verity boomed, Western partnership solid, reputation for integrity unassailable. But the emotional depths plunged further, a chasm of profound reflection. Every success echoed past pains, Greg's downfall a mirror to potential pitfalls. Nightmares revisited the firing, but waking brought clarity, growth from adversity. Liam became a mentor friend over a Montana hike. He shared, "You taught me loyalty's price." His words unlocked floods gratitude, but deeper, a sense of shared humanity amid corporate wars. Greg's consultancy faltered, rumors of his pivot to teaching ethics seminars. Irony stung, evoking empathy surge. I reached out, coffee in Denver. He accepted, transformed, humbled, insightful. Your exit forced my reckoning, he admitted. We dissected failures, his ego, my silence. Tears welled, mine from released resentment, his from regret. No business ties, just closure. Emotions overwhelmed, forgiveness as liberation. Keystone's remnants absorbed, survivors thrived elsewhere, including my team. The lesson? Value people over pennies. Trust is fragile, rebuildable. In quiet moments, overlooking Rockies, peace settled. The drama's crescendo revealed, true empire is empathy forged. From ashes, not vengeance, but wisdom bloomed, a gentle reminder that humanity triumphs.